This is Tar Heel Talk, an in-depth look at the issues and people making news in North Carolina. Here's your host, Sonia Williams.
Autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, is the second most common developmental disability following intellectual disability. On today's show, we're going to take a closer look at autism here in North Carolina and efforts to raise awareness and support. Joining us now is David Laxton, Director of Communications with the Autism Society of North Carolina. David, welcome back to Tar Heel Talk.
Thank you. Really appreciate you having us back on this year. It's always good to be here and to share some information with your audience.
Absolutely, and I understand that this has been a big year, lots of new initiatives and new laws in place pertaining to autism. So let's start there with what's new.
Well, on July 1st, one of the things that we talked about last year, autism insurance reform, that became law in North Carolina. So many families whose insurance plans previously would not have covered treatment for autism will now cover treatment. It doesn't mean that everybody is eligible for that, but the legislature in 2015 did pass that, the governor signed it, and that took effect on July 1st. So now the state health plan provides an autism treatment benefit, and then other companies who they're considered large employers, 50 or more, they also will cover that. And if people have questions about that, they should check with their human resources department to find out, because also what we're seeing is that some other companies that may not be required to do that by law are also starting to offer that, because now it's something that helps them with recruiting good employees.
Absolutely.
And particularly in our area where you have a lot of employers, it's just the right thing to do, so they're starting to do that. So that's been one thing that's been progress, and then we've also seen, with the state's help, some new programs start throughout part of the viewing area in the eastern part of the state in social recreation. Social recreation, as we talk about it, involves teaching social skills, things like after-school programs, summer day camps, leisure and recreation things, and then some adult services. And we were able to launch 4 new programs back on July 4th, actually. So it's been a very busy year for us getting some new things up and off the ground, but the main thing is we've been able to help more people, and that's what we really like to be able to do.
And the need is great, particularly here in North Carolina.
That's true. We still have a prevalence rate of 1 out of every 59 children would be likely to be diagnosed with a form of autism. Those numbers were updated back at the end of March by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And North Carolina is a participant in their study. They've been doing it for over a decade. So the numbers are pretty well maintained and pretty accurate. And what that means is, if you think about an elementary school classroom, you've got about 25 or so kids, maybe 30, just depending. But that means that in each classroom, you're likely to have maybe a kid that's going to pass throughout the day. We have data from the Department of Public Instruction that shows that there are over 16,250 kids who have a diagnosis of autism in an individualized education program. The thing about that number's tripled since in the last 10 years.
Oh my goodness.
So, and it also doesn't count those kids that have a diagnosis but don't have an individualized education program, or those kids that may not be present that day. So that's a lot of kids that are going to become adults with autism, and that's why, we're here to talk about autism, and hopefully people that are watching this show remember that the Autism Society of North Carolina is there to help them, and they'll look us up on the web, or they'll share it with a friend, a co-worker, somebody that goes to their church that they know has a family member affected by autism.
And I know that autism, it manifests itself in a number of different ways, and the symptoms can be very different in children. Talk a little bit about that, and just because I know that there are a lot of families who still don't quite understand exactly what autism is.
Well, at its root, it's something that affects the brain, and it affects one's ability to communicate, to process information. It also can affect behavior and social interactions. So in really young kids, one of the things that they have said is noticeable whenever they look at videotapes of early birthday parties or other things like that, it might be primarily a lack of eye contact or a lack of interaction with the environment around them. That doesn't mean that every child or every person on the autism spectrum is the same. Some individuals may also make flapping motions with their hands or other parts of their bodies. They may be very resistant to change in routine. They may have language or they may not. They may, have a fascination with particular topics or objects, and where that differs from kids that might be on a normal developmental path, kids on the autism spectrum, they don't move past that particular fascination. On the one hand, they can be brilliant with their knowledge of a particular topic, but it's being able to communicate it in what we would call an appropriate or a limited way that they have problems with. But it's really something that if people have concerns or if they see that their child might be missing some of the developmental milestones when they're talking to their pediatrician, they should ask, particularly around areas of communication, and see if there might be something else going on, or at least get a second opinion about some things.
Right. Definitely important to notice those
Yes.
Developmental milestones. When you talk about the importance of educating the public and raising awareness about autism in North Carolina, and you look at the prevalence
Right.
of autism here in our state, are you finding that where the numbers are higher because people are more aware of the situation, or what are some of the reasons that
I do
it's
think
higher?
that part of the reason that we have a prevalence of 1 in 59 is because our state as a whole does a better job of sharing information amongst parents, professionals, people that are in schools. Actually, part of that CDC study showed that our state diagnoses kids at an earlier median age than any other state in the country, meaning that we can do a better job of identifying kids earlier and getting them the help that they need. The age that we identify kids in our state is 37 months, so that's just over 3 years. In other states, it's like at 5 to 7 years.
Okay.
So we're really ahead of the curve there, and I think that's partly because we have an organization like ours that's been around for a while. We're able to come and talk to you, and your audience listens and shares that information, but also within the schools and other places where they have contact with kids at an early age and might see some of these things, now they're speaking up and sharing that information with parents and able to get the kids into the system so they can get the help that they need.
Okay, we're going to talk more about the services and support that's provided in just a minute.
That's great.
All right. Up next, how one family is facing autism head on. We'll hear Abigail's story when we come back. The 18th annual Triangle Run Walk for Autism will take place on Saturday, October 8th at 9 a.m. in their new location on Halifax Mall in downtown Raleigh. That is, the cost is $30 per person, and for more information about this event, you can go to trianglerunwalkforautism.org. And joining me now to tell us more about this event that is taking place in Raleigh and why so many families are participating is David Laxton, Director of Communications for the Autism Society of North Carolina, and Emily Hamilton. Emily is a volunteer with the organization, and her daughter Abigail has autism. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Now, Emily, Abigail was diagnosed with autism at the age of 4, but you noticed some differences in her behavior prior to that. Talk a little bit about some of the things that you noticed that caused you some concern.
I think it was around 2 when we first started noticing some differences. The other children in her class were meeting certain milestones, and she was several months behind. And we brought that concern to our pediatrician, and at that age it was not quite a concern just yet. Kind of a wait and see, let's see if she'll catch up with her classmates. But then around age 3, we really saw the gap widening there. And some of the differences that we saw were socially. She was much more of a loner type child and liked to be by herself and play by herself, and also showed some symptoms of some social anxiety, not making eye contact when speaking, and just in general social places was having a difficult time adjusting. And we also noticed several different sensory issues as well. She had loud noises, for instance, were a problem for her. So once we started picking up on those, we reapproached the pediatrician who advised us to get further testing.
Okay. Talk about that, because I know that for a lot of parents, you don't know where to go. You don't know what to do, and you just feel that frustration. But moving to the next step, after talking with your pediatrician, how long and what was the process before Abigail received the official diagnosis?
Well, after the pediatrician's visit, we were recommended to go to a behavioralist, and they did some just generalized testing there, and it kind of picked up on some cues that there could possibly be some autism tendencies there. And so we were then asked to go to UNC Hospital, where we had an official workup done and was seen by a psychologist there, and several days of testing, and that concluded that she did have autism spectrum disorder, which for us came as quite of a shock as first-time parents. We were not quite sure what that meant, but at the same time gave us a direction and a treatment plan, so we were happy to hear that.
And David, I can imagine that you hear stories like this on a daily basis.
Definitely. We have 17 autism resource specialists throughout the state. We actually have 4 here in the Triangle, and they're moms. They have children on the autism spectrum, and what their role is to answer the phone and take those questions where somebody says, hey, I think this is what's going on with my child. Where can I go to get answers? Just like I've noticed that they have a sensitivity to sound. Who can I talk with? What are the professionals that can give me answers to the questions that I have? So we get those types of calls and emails on a daily basis, and what we try to do is get them to the help that they need so they can get the diagnosis. And then afterwards, those resource specialists offer workshops like after the diagnosis, get the help you need, get going, what's next. And we want to be there. We're a lifelong partner for not only the individual with autism, but with the family, because it's not something that just affects the individual, it affects the whole family. Absolutely. And that's where we come in, and we try to offer whatever support is needed.
And I can imagine that your family has relied on the Autism Society of North Carolina for some guidance and direction and overall support over the last few years. Oh,
absolutely. It's been very influential in the types of treatments that she has received, especially in the school setting, which was where
maybe her anxiety
was highest, yes. And so using a lot of the resources there by the Autism Society of North Carolina and found online and through different workshops and such was able to help us come up with a plan that was she could use at school, which has certainly helped in the past couple of years.
And that is a resource that a lot of families may not even know exists, that you have. You're able to provide that support in the classroom for families, for students.
We have online toolkits both for parents, and teachers can use those as well. I mentioned, or we've talked about at different times, individualized education programs. That's something that's confusing to everybody. It's kind of a legal document, but we've got a toolkit that tries to break it down into its simplest form. We have teachers that we also provide training to through our clinical department. We want to go in and teach them what the best practices are, so that regardless of what their students' strengths or areas of need might be, they can adapt the curriculum to their learning styles. And then also we have a bookstore where just about any type of topic that you want to find out about autism, you can find a book on it with some strategies and some actual things that you can implement. So we try to offer that type of support network, but also put people behind it, so that you're not just limited to a computer screen. You can actually talk to somebody, you can meet with somebody, you can connect with other families, and that's, I think, one of the things that makes us different from a lot of other organizations.
And that support, I'm sure, has helped you quite a bit.
Oh, absolutely. Meeting other families that are like ours and maybe have been on this journey a little longer than we have has made a world of difference to our family. And then meeting the experts in the field as well, and having that resource right here in our backyard has been invaluable for us.
And I know one way that you help to continue to provide support and services to families like Emily's is by the Autism the run walk
Yep.
that is coming up.
Definitely.
That is, we see pictures from previous years. This is the 18th year for this event. Huge fundraiser and awareness raiser, if you will, for
It's hard to believe
autism.
this will be the 18th year. We started out, and the first year we had maybe 300 folks that came out there. We really didn't know what we were doing. And this year there are going to be between 4,000 and 5,000 folks. You'll have your team out there, and
And that's Abigail we're seeing there.
yeah, and it's a 5K, but it doesn't have to be a race. You can come out and just have a good time. One of the things that I think is unique about it, and Emily, please reinforce this. I mean, you're connecting with other families, and your daughter can go out there and just be herself. We have activities for the kids. There's an information fair. It's not just about a race. It's actually a celebration of our community, and that creates a great opportunity for folks that are affected as well as those that want to help out.
All right, we're going to talk more about how people can get involved with this event when we come back. We'll be back with more Tar Heel Talk after these messages. Welcome back to Tar Heel Talk. I'm Sonia Williams. The 18th annual Triangle Run Walk for Autism will take place on Saturday, October 8th at 9 a.m. in their new location on Halifax Mall in downtown Raleigh. The cost is $30 per person, and for more information about this event, go to trianglerunwalkforautism.com. And with us again to tell us more about this and other efforts to raise awareness about autism is David Laxton, Director of Communications for the Autism Society of North Carolina, and Emily Hamilton. Emily's daughter, Abigail, was diagnosed with autism at the age of 4. Thank you again for being with us. October 8th is going to be a huge day, not just for people who like to run and walk, but for families who are dealing with autism on a daily basis.
The event, it includes a competitive 5K. So for those that are watching that want to come out and have a good race, our course is slightly different this year because we've moved over to Halifax Mall, which for those that are not familiar with downtown, it's not a mall like you go shopping in.
Right.
It's a big open field in the state government complex. So it's actually a much better location for us to stage our information fair, the start and the finish. And it's a lot of open space where the kids can just go have a good time. There'll be live music. You'll be able to hear all the announcements. And we really feel like the location is going to be great because, as I was explaining during the break, lots of free parking. And
great.
you don't have to worry about it. If you can get to not Wilmington Street, if you can get to Salisbury Street, all the state government lots are free that day. So we're going to have lots of signs out there, volunteers directing you in. But we have the 5K that starts at 9 o'clock, and then we have the recreational 5K where folks come out in costumes, the teams are out there. It's like a big parade. We just saw some of the Olympic stuff where everybody came in and had a big celebration.
Yes.
That's what the recreational 5K is like. Then for those that don't want to go that far, there's a mile fun run event. And then the Kids Dash, where we base it on age, and if you're 3, you might go 30 feet. If you're 5, you might go 50. 6, that's where we cut it off because then the bigger kids get in the way. But it's really a morning of just having a lot of fun, fellowship, sharing information, and I think it's very family friendly, all ages and abilities. This year's course is pretty flat, so that helps too.
Yes.
What am I forgetting?
Well, it's one of our favorite times of the year. We look forward to that event every year. And like you said, it is a time for families to get together and just celebrate with one another, but also a time to fellowship with all of those on the spectrum. You get to see the entire spectrum that day, which is a pretty neat thing in itself. And just to be able to socialize and fellowship with others like you, where your differences don't stand out quite as much as they may on a day-to-day basis.
And I understand that Abigail is quite the active participant in raising money for her team and just that spirit for the Run Walk.
Absolutely. Our team is entitled Peace, Love, and Abigail, so it's named after her. And the past couple of years, she's really gotten into the fundraising piece of it, which actually helps her with her social anxiety. So we've been really
There's
fortunate in
Abigail.
that she's been able to participate all year. And this year we started fundraising quite a bit earlier, back in April, which is Autism Awareness Month, and we're going to continue it on up until the day of the race. So if you're in need of a team and would like to come join us, please consider Peace, Love, and Abigail.
Yeah.
We'd love to have you.
All right, that sounds good. And I understand that Abigail has a support dog as well.
She does. She has a dog named Samson. He is a French Briard, and he will be with us on race day as he is with her every day. But yeah, he's a huge fluffy dog.
He's adorable.
Absolutely. And he enjoys the race just as much as we do.
And I think that's something that's important for families to know as well, is just having that support animal as a resource of comfort and support and just helping to manage daily life. I think it's something that's important and a good piece of information for families to know.
Well, at one of the events earlier this year, we have other run walks throughout the state, and down in Wilmington, I think it was actually the company that you were able to get your dog from, they were there with some of the animals. So for families that weren't aware of some of the services were there, that's part of what our information fair provides too. So, you know, the event's dog friendly, it's stroller friendly. You know, again, if you want to take a shortcut and come back, we'll let you do that unless you're a competitive person. But it really does open up a lot of folks' eyes to the different possibilities that exist in our community, not only just from our organization, but from other organizations that serve individuals with autism and their families as well. So, you know, again, it's a great opportunity to learn, great opportunity to have fun. We hope everybody will come out and join us.
How can people register for the event?
Right now, the easiest way to do it is online at the website trianglerunwalkforautism.com. Online registration will go until the Monday before the event, and it's $30 a person. If you register the week of, I think it does go up a little bit. We welcome people to register the morning of, but the easiest thing to do so that you're clear and you can move through very fast is to go ahead and register online at trianglerunwalkforautism.com.
Right, and it's a great event for the entire family, so no excuses, free parking.
Oh yeah.
No excuses.
I'll be out there making sure we start on time, and I'll probably be out there directing traffic too. We'll have we have over 200 volunteers that come out and make the event run very smoothly. If folks need a bagel or if they need coffee, water, we've got all that too. So again, we really encourage everybody that wants to learn more or wants to come out and make a difference to join us that day.
And it's a great educational opportunity, because I think a lot of times when parents get that initial diagnosis of a child having autism, there's a sense of panic, and then you're just like, I don't know where to go from here, or maybe sometimes feeling like you're alone. But organizations and events like this help you to know that you're not.
Absolutely. There are 4,000 to 5,000 other people right here in the Triangle who are just like us.
And that's why we call it a celebration. I mean, that's the most important takeaway, what you said. People are not alone. We don't want them to feel alone. That's why we encourage them to reach out to us, whether it be through this event or throughout the year. We're here to help them and to make sure that they understand that other people have been down this journey as well, and there's a lot of things that we can all learn from each other to help each other.
Absolutely. And there is lifelong support provided through the Autism Society of North Carolina.
Yeah, we're a lifespan organization, which means that not only do we help folks who have really young kids, but also adults. We provide a variety of services for them as well, whether that means finding a job, helping them to connect with other adults, or in some instances it might mean, well, how do we transition into some type of a living situation that means not living with mom and dad?
Right.
We're also seeing those folks that were children whenever our organization was formed. Now they're dealing with aging issues. So we really are looking at a lot of things that cover the lifespan so that we can share information. And for young ladies like Abigail, whenever you know, get 3 or 4 years down the road where you're going to middle school, then that's easier than high school and then transitioning to adulthood. Not that we want to get ahead of ourselves, but you know, that we have information that we can share.
Absolutely. We certainly want people to check out the website trianglerunwalkforautism.com and register for this great event. Thank you so much, David Laxton, Director of Communications with the Autism Society of North Carolina, and to Emily Hamilton. Thank you, and we wish Abigail all the best on October 8th. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
That's it for this week's Tar Heel Talk. To comment on this this or other episodes of the show, or to suggest a show topic, send us a message on our Facebook page or an email to tarheeltalk@fox50.com. I'm Sonia Williams. Have a great day.